Hello friends, and welcome back to more cooking videos. In today's episode, we are taking a look at making macarons even harder and more annoying. Mainly because I have such huge fingers, and you will see why later. I present to you the Micro Macaron. If you are wondering why, it's because after being in isolation, it's taught me that I've got lots of free time. Also, to actually show you how small they are on my finger, I had to super glue one to my fingertip to make this shot. So please appreciate the fact that I had a Micro Macaron stuck to my finger for at least an hour trying to film this. Let's begin. The first thing in making perfect macarons is preparation. In this sense, it's trying to get perfect sizing. I went to the stationery shop and picked up these stickers. They look like a good starting point. Their size is 0.7 centimeters in diameter, which are pretty small. I also managed to pick up a clear acetate or plastic sheet. Next, I have this cutting board, and luckily there is this grid pattern. So this is what I'm going to do. Place the clear plastic sheet on the top of the grid and take a dot sticker and place it at a starting point. The next dot should have a space between them. After you have done the first row, alternate the sticker formation like this. This is going to help the airflow later. Keep up with the pattern. Movie magic made this go fast, but it definitely took some time. But at least after you are done, you will have this template for life. This principle sticker trick also works for bigger macarons. This isn't even the hard part yet. Set this aside for now. We can start with the actual macaron mixture. We're going to start with 300 grams of ground almonds. After that, as well, with 300 grams of icing sugar. You don't have to sieve the icing sugar at this point. Use a food processor for this part. Pour in the ground almonds and the icing sugar. Blend it for a couple of minutes until everything seems combined. What you are creating is a mixture called tempêtant. One more time, tempêtant. Also, for you French people out there, sorry for my pronunciation. Give that a mix every now and then. This is a French expression meaning so much for so much. Tempêtant refers to the equal parts of almond flour and powdered sugar that make up the base for madeleines, financiers, and of course in this case, macarons. Here comes the other fun part. Since we are making such tiny macarons, we're going to sieve it to help create a fine end product. It will feel like it's taking forever, but be patient. You can use a plastic scraper like the one I have to help you in the sieving process. If you have any big bits like this, keep it for another project. Then the next thing you will need is a small pot, and in it goes 75 grams of water. Pour the water in first. Then 300 grams of castor sugar. Pouring in the water first makes the bottom of the pot wet and thus helps to prevent the sugar from burning later on when putting the pot onto the stove. Turn on the stove to medium to high. We want the mixture to boil. In the meantime, I have over here egg whites that I had left at room temperature for 2 days. Make sure it isn't summertime room temperature. You will need 2 bowls of 110 grams each. Take a mixing bowl and pour in one of the egg white bowls. Also, if you keep your egg whites in the fridge, don't use it straight from the fridge. They whip up better when the egg whites don't have such a huge temperature change. Use a whisk attachment and take it over to the mixer. In the meantime, let's check on the boiling sugar syrup. Once it reaches to 110 degrees Celsius, turn on your mixer to full speed. In the meantime, the temperature of the syrup will still continue to rise. We are looking for a temperature of 120 to 121 degrees Celsius. However, at the 118 degree mark, I'm going to take it off from the stove because the remaining heat will take it to the temperature that we are looking for. Give the pot a swirl to stop the rapid bubbles and for it to calm down. While the mixer is whisking the egg whites away, pour the hot syrup in a continuous thin stream down the side of the bowl. Make sure it doesn't touch the whisk, otherwise you will end up with spun sugar and have sugar streaks in your meringue. We don't want that. While that is whisking away and cooling down at the same time, let's go back to the ground almond and icing sugar mixture, or the tempêtant. Pour the second bowl of egg whites in. Use a rubber scraper, much like the one I am using right now, with a curved bottom, and give that a good mix. Make sure the paste is evenly mixed and that there are no dry or lumpy areas. I am going to place some cling film over the top. We don't want the mixture to dry out in the meantime. Since we are almost ready to assemble the mixture, let's talk about tips. Piping tips, that is. I have got a number 5 round tip. Let's see if that will be a good fit. That tip is too small. Perhaps we can save that for the filling. Let's try something with twice the number 10 round tip. That looks about right. Take a piping bag and place your piping tip inside. In the meantime, let's check on the meringue. We're looking for something around body temperature. Also, you can tell from feeling the side of the bowl that it has cooled down. There we go. This looks good. Just look at that nice stiff meringue. Take about 1/3 of the meringue and use your scraper to really work it into the almond paste. I am trying to be careful and not to overwork it. I don't want to deflate the meringue. After all, we've spent so much time in creating it fluffy. When the meringue is almost mixed in, I add some more. This motion of mixing from the bottom helps to incorporate the meringue better, rather than just pressing down from the top. You are essentially doing the macaronage. It is the stage in preparing French macaron shells where the batter or mixture is worked until smooth, shiny and flowing. The mixture is almost there. You will just have to add the remaining 1/3 of the meringue. Once you have completely mixed all of the meringue, check the batter. I have 2 ways of checking it. I angle the bowl and watch the flow. When it moves like lava, we are in the right direction. Also, I have some of the mixture on my scraper and I drop it from a height and watch the formation as it falls down. I'm waiting for about 3 to 5 seconds before it completely dissolves into the rest of the batter. There you go. The batter at rest looks shiny and smooth. Now we can start the shaping process. Take a metal tray. I'm going to place the sticker template on the top of the tray, followed by some baking paper. You can also use a silicone mat. Since we have some sort of guide, we can pipe the mixture with some sort of confidence. Trust yourself and have patience. If you fuck it up, hey, on the bright side, you have hundreds to practice on. You can move the tray or the template or baking paper around to make it comfortable for you to pipe and carry on working. When piping either big ones or tiny ones like this, I do a little trick twist of the wrist. This helps to stop and cut the mixture from the piping nozzle. This also helps me to ensure a smooth top later on, as I'm trying to minimize drips from the piping nozzle. I do it rather fast due to practice, but here is an up-close shot of how it looks like. Just twist and pull up. It takes some time and some practice, but you too can also do it fast later on. Just remember, twist and pull up. If you also notice the way I hold my piping bag, I place my dominant piping hand that controls everything at the bottom and the other hand just holds the piping bag. I don't actually press from the top. I press for more mixture with my dominant piping hand. This ensures for better control, but then again, if you have a comfortable way of doing something and when the end results are the same, I'm not going to stop you. Usually after piping, when making regular sized macarons, you would tap the tray to even out the mixture. But in this case, since they are super small, just use your finger to tap the sides of the tray. Another tip is to tap all around with the same number of taps. If you tap 4 times in one corner, remember to tap 4 times on all corners. Don't over tap it, just tap until you notice a smooth top. After that, let the macaron shells dry for about 15 minutes. The time could change depending where you are in the world due to room temperature and humidity. I'm only drying them long enough until I'm able to touch the top of the macarons and for it not to stick on my finger. This also helps to ensure a smooth finish. Place it in your oven. Here comes the paradox, because there are many factors here. I had to cook about 7 trays to establish that in my oven and using my trays, it was perfect at 120 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes with no fan. I can only give you my findings and somewhat of a guideline. You are going to have to fail, yes, fail, to establish what works for your oven and where you are. My oven has a back fan. You might have a side fan, the heat coming from the top. You might have an oven with the heat coming from the bottom or on the side. These factors can change the game, but once you find out what works for you, then perfection comes with practice. I need you to fail so that you can learn and adjust from there. Even if you fail, what's the worst that can happen? Overcooked macaron shells? They are still a delicious snacking item. Believe me when I tell you, I cooked about 7 trays to find out what works for me. At one point, the shells were too crispy due to the oven temperature and time, and at another point, the shells were undercooked. What you are looking for is that nice balance, where when they come out, they have a nice soft chewy center, even for something that tiny. While you leave them to one side, let's prepare the filling. I'm going to go for a classic chocolate filling. I am making a dark chocolate Crémeux. For the full recipe and method, here is my video link on the top right corner. Once the Crémeux has set overnight in the fridge, test it out. This is now perfect to be piped into the macaron shells. Put the Crémeux into a piping bag, and remember I showed you the number 5 piping tip? I'm going to be using that. Pipe a good amount, and finally sandwich the 2 shells together. I had to hold my breath when I did this. Otherwise, I would have crushed the top shell. My fingers are so huge and sausage-like that I had to be really delicate when I tried to hold these little macaron shells. Let's have a try. That's ridiculously small. It just dissolves in my mouth so fast. Why would anyone make such tiny macarons? Now, remember, I made hundreds here. Time to patiently fill them. I am cursing right now at my idea of making such tiny things to hold. And of course, with the power of filmmaking, here is a time-lapse edition for you, so you don't suffer like how I had to. It took me some time to finish this tray. A good 2 hours. Also, I don't want to say this, but I think I've created something dangerous here. Micro Macaron cereal. This is such a burst of flavor and awesomeness. Why don't we ever have this for breakfast? I'm telling you right now, they are dangerous, but worth it. Well, alright guys, there you have it for today. Micro Macarons. Only do this if you have patience. If you have enjoyed this video, please let me know with a comment, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. In the meantime, take care and see you next time. Bye for now.